I am sitting at the site of a 5-figure project that our company has done 3 years in a row now. And in this video, I'm going to give you a really simple 6-step sales process that you could follow so that you can land big jobs like this. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for watching today. Make sure you support Matt by liking, subscribing, commenting. That's all they have to do, right? That's it. Support the show. And speaking of support the show, this episode brought to you by our friends at Mighty Line Tape. So they are still sending you out a free sample kit. All you do, go to mightylinetape.com/stripe it, and they'll send that out to you at no charge because they're awesome. So how do you land bigger jobs like this? One thing that will really help you is a consistent sales process. Like, I just love the word sales process, but a lot of people don't really know what it means. If you're newer, that might not interest you at all, and you might have no idea what it is. So I'm gonna give you like a really simple 6-step framework. Okay. And this framework is super effective whether you're prospecting new customers or maybe you have an inbound lead. And it's a really great tool, these 6 steps, great tool to use when you're having a sales interaction with somebody. That could be in a meeting or on the phone. So 6 steps, here's what it looks like. Number 1, set the agenda. Okay. Whenever you're having a sales interaction with a customer, some customers love to just like jump in and start telling you all these crazy stories about their parking lot, and it just kind of goes off the rails in the first 30 seconds. Really important sales tactic you want to keep in your bag is setting the agenda. So what that means is you don't let the customer go off on tangents. You start the conversation by saying, "Customer, here's what I'd like to accomplish with you today on this phone call or this meeting. I want to make sure that I understand your needs so that I can prepare a great proposal for you." Doing that signals to the customer that you are controlling the sales interaction. And I know that sounds really salesy, but you really don't want your customer to just, get this thing off the rails. So after that, number 2, you set the agenda, and then you start asking effective questions. You basically want to start understanding what is going to drive this customer to make a purchase decision. So you're going to want to find out things like, some of my favorite questions to ask would be, have you ever been involved in a project like this before? So if somebody calls you out of the blue at like a building like this, and they're like, "Hey, I need the entire property, line painted." Asking them if they've ever been a part of that is a really effective question, because if they say no, you can position yourself as an expert, and then you can guide them through the process of how you would do it. But if they have been through this process before, that's an amazing opportunity for you to ask them, how did it go last time, right? Always be a little bit skeptical with new customers. If they've had this work done before and now they're coming to you and your company, it's a really good idea to kind of understand, why are they making a change? Maybe they're just looking for cheaper pricing, or maybe they're looking for extra value that you could offer them. All right, number 3 is confirm the scope. So after you kind of go through some questions and you gather some feedback from the customer and you understand the scope, a really good thing to do is to repeat it back to them, basically on the phone or in person. You want to make sure, not only for your sake, but for your customer's sake too, that you are both on the same page with the scope of work that's going to get done. So when you come to bigger projects like this, I mean, yes, it's still line painting, it's still striping, it's not that different from other projects, but the bigger the project, sometimes there's little variances and things that need to be understood between the contractor and the customer. So by you confirming the scope of work back to them, you are signaling that you're listening, you're paying attention, and it's gonna reduce a lot of the operational headaches too, because nothing's worse than when you go do something on a job and then after the customer says, "But I wanted it this way." So confirm it back to them, and then obviously down the road you can put it to them in writing so that everything can be signed and agreed to, right? Number 4. This is like my favorite thing in the world, and this takes a lot of courage, but if you can master this skill, and it won't come easy if you've never done it, if you can master this, you will increase your sales significantly. It's called the hammer close. So basically what it looks like, if I'm in a sales meeting with a customer and we go through all those questions, I've set the agenda, I understand what's motivating them to buy, and then at the very end, after I understand what their budget is, if I can go to them and say, "So Mr. Customer, if I can accomplish this scope of work in this time frame that you're looking for within your budget, is there anything that would prevent you from moving forward with my striping company today?" And then you just shut up and let them say something. And it's really hard to do. So in order to execute a hammer close like that, you need to understand the answers to all those questions. You had to have found out, when do they want the work done? Do they have a budget in mind? Do you understand the full scope of work? But if you can pitch it back to them and say, I think we can do all these things that you're looking for, would you move forward with us if we can? I mean, some customers will agree to a sale right then and there on the phone or in front of you. Now, sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes they're a little bit more hesitant. If they are hesitant, it means that there's still a little bit of information that you need to gather from them or share with them so that they're more comfortable making that buying decision. All right. Number 5, set clearly defined next steps. Always, this is like a life principle, by the way, not just for sales, but in anything you do in your company. Always make sure there's a clear next step in the sales process. So one thing that can happen a lot with striping and seal coating companies is they do these sales interactions, and they basically say, all right, great meeting. I'll get you a quote later and see ya. And then they just walk away and there's no clearly defined next step. If you are obligated to give them a quote or proposal, tell your customer exactly when you're going to do it. And conversely, if you need something from them, like maybe the customer has to supply information to you and some drawings or information, make sure that you explain that back to them. Like, I am willing to, work with you on this quote or this proposal. I'll just need this information back from you. Are you able to get it to me by this day? And then you just work with them on that. What happens if you don't have clearly defined next steps is it just adds a ton of unnecessary friction in the sales cycle, and it's easy for things to just slip through the cracks, and that leads to less sales. So set those clearly defined next steps and who owns the step. And last but not least, 6th thing you can do after it's all said and done, please follow up with your quotes. Like, don't ever just chuck a quote out there and just leave it and then hope the customer calls you. You know what? People lose stuff, people get busy, people get distracted. You need to stay at the top of your customer's mind, top of their inbox, give them a call. We use software like OneCrew that has automatic follow-ups for their quotes once we send out our quotes. All of those things are super helpful. So that's a really condensed version, really condensed version of a 6-step sales process. Now, if I had more time, I would talk a lot more about those kind of questions that you ask with a customer. If you're interested in learning more about what those questions are so that you can get better information and increase the likelihood that you're going to make sales, drop a comment or get in touch and I'd be happy to chat with you more on what that looks like. So that's it. Keep your stripes hot, go land jobs like this, and we'll talk to you next week.